Good morning. I don't really have a lot to say today, I don't think. Maybe we'll open it up for more questions. We're getting to the end of the 5 desires, talking about the 5 desires or the hindrances to practice. I had this great dream, which was that I had this bag full of dirty laundry, and the bag was kind of all old and kind of dirty too, and I had a nice clean bag, and I was putting the dirty laundry in my nice clean bag. And in the dream, I was so happy. I was like, yeah, but there's just this little voice that was going, there's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with this. But just again, talking about power, and of course, I was talking about every relationship, there's some kind of power dynamic going on. So it's interesting to be aware of that. And the places where I really have a lot of power, like with animals, the kind of power we have over animals. So those kinds of situations, we need to be particularly kind, or children, babies, because the power differential is so huge. We need to be particularly selfless in taking care of those that we have a lot of power over, or if we're in a position of great power. And I'm really not. I've been fortunate that I don't have much fame and money, so I haven't had to battle the kind of addiction that comes up out of that. I mean, they say power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Is that what they say? Yeah. And I just remember, and I don't know that much about politics, but when Salinas became president of Mexico, we were all so excited because he just appeared to be would be such a great ruler. Education and economics, and just seemed that way. And then he became so corrupt. And I just wonder, once you step into that kind of situation, those of us who haven't had that much power, it's probably hard to imagine how seductive that is. I was reading a book about drug trafficking. The point of the book was what a huge economic factor illegal drugs are in our culture and in our, like, it's impossible to do real economic forecasting and stuff because we don't know the statistics on that. But I was talking about this one guy who was mostly dealing marijuana, I think. But he was just saying about how great it was when he wanted to go somewhere. He just got in the plane and just talking about how great it felt to just be able to do whatever he wanted to do. Until, of course, the guns and things like that, and the prison sentence and things like that. Anyway, I think that being in a position of power, it's incredibly difficult not to become addicted to that. To just having someone give us whatever we want, whenever we want it. That sounds pretty good. And being able, I mean, you hear that, well, if I was in charge, you're talking about football teams that way. I've never been a football fan, but some football fan, we're talking about, the conversation is if I ran the team, and I guess who you trade. I mean, what a thing with human beings. I know I've never understood football. But with human beings, you like buy and sell them to make the perfect team, and then everybody second guesses the person who's deciding that, the coach or the owner or whatever. but we say that. If I was in charge, actually, we were just talking about that before we came in here. What's going on now? It just seems horrendous. Why are we fighting 4 wars? And it just doesn't seem right. And then again, if I was making those decisions, who knows? Who knows what I would do? It's very hard to know what right action is on that kind of level. And yeah, it must be very seductive to be the one that really gets to decide the best team, gets to have my ideas come out. So, but for us, it's on a smaller level, but it's equally important, just in our family dynamic, to be able to shift the power roles, which is what Elder Bob talks about, I think. It's not that they don't shift. It's not that one person, many times in our family, is making the decision. I mean, it's not that there isn't someone who has more power at certain times. But it should be shifting. It should be shifting, and not one person. And the same with a healthy organization. I mean, I guess that's what the United States is based on. It's not putting the power in one place. That's why we have 3 government, the Congress and the Supreme Court and the President. So anyway, it's just something I just really encourage all of us to be aware of. Be aware of what the power dynamic is in any relationship, and behave accordingly. But the one that maybe particularly is pertinent to us is the teacher-student relationship. And how does that work? It's new to this culture. I really don't think there's a good metaphor. Maybe I like to use the word coach, or like piano teacher. Like when you go to a piano teacher, initially you're learning form, you're getting everything the piano teacher, the music teacher has to offer. But then at some time, a great pianist finds their own way. The teaching has been to help shape that, and to learn some form, learn some methods, get some tools, or painting. But when the great pianist has their own interpretation, an own way, an own style, and each of us, that's true. Each of us is perfect individual as we are. I got so tired after Kevin's memorial service because everything that's been going on. So I spent yesterday afternoon in bed watching Netflix, and I watched a whole bunch of art. But yeah, each artist is so individual, so creative as they are, and yet there's a basis of training. So I think of that, our mentors, and then sometimes we can get into kind of the idea of total freedom. I don't want a mentor. I don't want a teacher. I don't want a coach. I want, just to really be myself. And I guess that's okay. But I think that relationship is so powerful to really find our true self. And yeah, there's a woman on this show. It's called Art City. She's in, I can't remember her name. She's in New Mexico. And boy, is she an individualist. She's, in the movie, she's about my age. I don't know when they made that documentary. But she was saying, most important thing is to find your true self. Most important thing is to, and she says, do self reflection. What do I like to do? That's a very important question. Not what does my family want me to do, what does the culture want me to do, what do I really love to do? And then do that. And she paints the absolute, which are kind of just like really kind of white canvases with really pale lines in it. But what she's painting is joy, she says. And she's talking about when you're really quiet, you find joy. So anyway, that teacher-student relationship, is new for this culture, and easy to become a problem. You know, I think of the spiritual path. I may have talked about this before, as Candyland. You know that game, Candyland? I think of that game all the time. And of course, we start playing that when we're